Nothing feels better to a coward than to watch a brave guy
I know there's a lot of
fall.
people who's currently celebrating the fact that Harada will retire eventually, but when he does, these are the type of things that will go with him. And me personally, I will miss it. But for now, let's appreciate the guy while he is here. You guys do me a favor, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and also subscribe on YouTube. For those of you who were unaware, Digimon Time Stranger is doing a collaboration with Tekken 8. The collaboration is, you guessed it, PNG t-shirt. The producer of Digimon was once one of my subordinates and an artist of the Tekken project. He has been collaborating with Tekken throughout the series. Each time I simply say, sure, go ahead and do it the way you think is best. That's cool when you see these guys used to work together. Now the guy moved on, he moved up in his career, but he still has strong connections to Tekken. Another small tweet that I want to note as well is that this person here was asking Harada to make some adjustments to special intros so that the normal intros can still play sometimes as well, just to give it a little bit of variety. Harada says he'll share the opinion with the team, so maybe this is something that they'll do in a future update and you guys can look forward to it. Now, as for the big topic, for those of you who know, on Twitter, Tekken celebrates character's birthday. Most recently, it was Jun Kazama's birthday. Someone tagged Harada and says, why only 30% of the characters in the game are women? Why you bring back only 53% of females from Tekken 7 compared to 75% of the Tekken 7 males? Where's Kunimitsu, Julia, Josie, Katarina, and Kazumi? Now, before we look at Harada's answer to this question, let's just look at the Tekken 7 statistics ourselves. So out of the top 25 most popular characters in the game, only 4 of them are females. And then this poll also happened in the Tekken 7 era, where the players were able to vote on which characters they liked the most. The first female, once again, is Kunimitsu, then Asuka, then Lydia, then Lily. So you see, when the players are able to say which characters they like, the females do rank higher, but still none of them place top 10. Now, Harada says, this is only my personal opinion. As a rule, we choose the roster based on the following several factors. And I will repeat, not a single factor, but several factors. He says, character popularity. There are several ways to compute this data. One of the biggest components is user request. See, he says that, but then at the same time, where's Bruce? Bruce was definitely the most requested character in 7 behind Jun Kazama, and in Tekken 8, same thing. Character usage rates. Now this may be our answer. Also in Tekken 7, Fakaran was the 4th most popular character in the game. So that may be a point where usage rates trumps popularity, including not only the previous title, but also series-wide statistics. Popularity and usage rates come from different sources and means different things. As a side note, on my Twitter, I usually show a lot of these things that I reference in videos where I'm like, Harada said this one time, Harada said that one time. Lately, I've been going back and finding a lot of those old news articles and share the screenshots so players can understand what he said and how the conversation has evolved. One of those things was about the character Mokujin, and this also relates to just general legacy characters, because I believe he even said a similar thing about Baek-Do-san at one point. But on the topic of Mokujin being added into Tekken 8, the part that I want to highlight says, users' needs are constantly changing with the times, and we'd have to adapt and do the same in order to stay relevant. Something that I'm seeing Harada say pretty frequently is that the legacy characters won't be popular in today's world. And I kind of disagree with that, because if you talk about how Armor King was not popular in the era of Tekken 5, Tekken 4, so was Kunimitsu. I literally have tweets from Harada where he's talking about how Kunimitsu was not popular back then. And then if you talk about how now in Tekken 7, those characters have found a insane amount of popularity, and they're quite possibly, honestly, the most popular they have ever been. So just because Bruce, Baek-Do-san, and some of these old characters wasn't popular then or became unpopular, we have 2 very prime examples of, if you give those characters an opportunity, you will find great success. Next one. What the developers consider necessary for Tekken's world building, story, visuals, uniqueness, etc. This is why you see characters like Raven show up in the story, Claudio in the story, Zafina in the story. Those are all story characters. Now, when you talk about visual uniqueness, this is where the bears come into play. A lot of people say, why 2 bears on a roster? And Harada believes that it gives Tekken visual uniqueness, which I would agree with, but I don't know if we need both bears to do that. Kuma can stand on his own, so you can allow some other characters to get in there to add some more visual uniqueness to it. The next one, what the developers believes can introduce new gameplay or mind game concepts. For example, a martial arts style. So maybe this is more so talking about new ideas, like maybe a Marizu with her fighting style, a Leroy with Wing Chun. Other inspirations we are developing because we have creative drive in the first place. And of course, that's the thing about all of these characters, right? We see all the times where Harada is talking about these different ideas that he wants to do and he would love to do. Some of those ideas are now being passed off to the next generation of developers because Harada's on his way out. But yeah, passion is what drives. He goes on to say, I'm not saying these are exhaustive, but roughly speaking, we select characters by considering elements like these. Tekken is a game and also a product, so marketing aspects like the first two items are reflected as well. As I have said many times here over the past several years, for every character is like our child. This is something too. Players get upset because this character is in the game, that character isn't in the game, and people feel like the developers are like hating on the characters or taking shots at the characters, but that's not true, right? They created every character, and whenever the characters doesn't perform well, Harada says it's a failure on our part, right? We let the players down. We should have made this character better. That's what he said about Lucky Chloe specifically. Therefore, we would like to include every single character, but I believe everyone understands that various constraints arise. If you were to have 70 to 80 characters right from the start, then a game like Tekken with a large number of moves, matchup preparations would explode into a massive number of combinations, and dissatisfaction would spread that there are simply too many characters to handle. The reason why this statement is true, and yes, it is true, what ruined Tekken 7 was too many characters. When you start to hit the number 50, this is when you saw Neat get blown up by random like tech that if it wasn't so many characters in the game, he would be able to lap. So it's too much to lap for a pro. It's too much to learn and just operate with when you're talking about casual. And then when you're talking about a developer, it's too much to balance. And also talk about the heat system, how the heat system adds this extra layer to the characters as well, which is why I personally think it won't return because it's complicating the game more than it needs to be. You talk about 5,000 moves. Now these moves has heat properties, kind of crazy. Of course, having too few characters would be boring as well. Furthermore, regarding the cost of character creation, in Tekken, the costs are far higher than the other titles, included a number of moves and customization. I spoke with developers as well who said that back at Tekken Tag Tournament 2, it was less expensive and it was less difficult to make hair, to make t-shirts, to make this. In the year 2025 game development, it's much harder to do so. It's just physically harder and it takes more time, and he's not lying there. Therefore, beyond costs, there's also hard physical limits, including production schedule constraints. Even so, when you compare the number of characters in the default roster to each title's launch, Tekken is on the higher side. It is therefore clear our lineup and total count are not fewer than others. Now here he's talking about Street Fighter, how that game launched with like 19 characters. I can't remember Mortal Kombat, but I think they were at like 23. I don't know where Fatal Fury is at, where some of these other games are at, where Virtual Fighter 6 will be at. How many characters do you think will be in that game? 32, or do you think they'll be around 20? Tekken definitely is giving you more characters. I mean, we're already in the 40s with this game. It just sucks because there's so many great characters, and you understand why the players are adamant about their characters returning. From female fans, we are often told, please add more super muscular characters. From male fans, we often receive requests about martial arts styles or about female characters who have not yet appeared. From pro wrestling fans, who continually receive requests about moves, and from anime manga fans, we receive requests about guest characters. So you can see here, everyone has their own idea of what they want, and when you put it together like this, you can see how many ideas are being thrown at them.